Okay, this is memory lane activity number 4. This is going to help you on your final exam. So I would listen to this video, try to do these problems, and also you'll have an opportunity during next class, either June 1st for period 7 or June 2nd for periods 2 and 6. So page 1, of course, information, well, email, name, class period. Now, this first problem, the way to solve this problem is the following. You have your 4 angles of your quadrilateral. Basically, your sum of the 4 angles is 360. That's your hint. So the sum of the angles is 360 degrees. And yes, beware of the units as well. Oops. And Mr. Connors cannot type. So that's your hint, and then just solve for x. So that's step 1, and then solve for x. Those are your 2 steps for that problem. That's all you do. Basically, I'm just going to give you hints on the recording, and then from there, that will help you as you do these problems. And then we'll go over these as well during our next class session. Similar case, problem number 2. Same thing. It's just like problem 1. The only difference is, remember, there's a 90-degree angle, but it's the same as before. Sum of the angles is 360. You solve for x. Now, there's going to be more work to this problem because you have to add all 4 of these expressions. And then you're going to also have to combine like terms. And then keep your variable terms on one side of the equation, non-variables on the other. But that's the goal for this problem. Add your 4 angles, the sum of these 4 angles. Any way you put it, sum has to be 360. And then you just solve for x. And number 3, given a polygon has 5 sides, 5 angles. What must the sum of the angle measures of this polygon be? So now you use that formula, which is the following. That's your n minus 2 times 180. Remember, n is the number of sides. That should be your hint. And then you plug it in and then pick 1080, 540, and 900 degrees. All right, here, this rectangle, they're saying angle 2 is 55 degrees. So this angle here is 55 degrees. Now, diagonals are congruent, so that means this side, this side, this side, and that side, all 4 of these diagonals are congruent. And then it goes back, so then it goes back to the, if my diagonals are congruent, that means the angles opposite are also congruent. So if angle 2 is 55, this angle over here will also be 55. And then from there, you can get angle number 1 because the sum of your 3 angles must always add up to 180. So sum of angles in triangle, in all triangles, equals 180. So that's for the triangle part. Because I don't want you to get mixed up, because even though we see a rectangle, triangle, that means the sum of your angles is 180. Also, the other part is opposite angles of congruent sides are also congruent. So those are your two hints. So that's how this angle Q, or actually it's angle number 2, I'm sorry, 55. But that means this part here also has to be 55 because of these sides. And then from there, if this is 55, this is 55 as well, you'll know how to get that last angle, angle number 1. And there is no option number 4, so even though it says option 4 is not possible. I forgot to get rid of it. Okay, similarly, now you're going backwards. This one, so they tell us ROQ is 40. Now, we also know that the diagonals are congruent. So this, but now remember, your 3 angles must add up to 180. So again, our goal is we want to know what ORQ's measurement is. So O to R to Q. This one right here is what we want in the end. So that's what we want. We're going to go from here to here, from there to there. So that's our goal. But we want this angle in blue. But we kind of know what to do because in the end, you know that if these 2 angles are congruent, but we also know that the sum of the 3 angles must be 180. So again, it goes back to what we've done earlier. Triangle again, the sum of your 3 angles, 180. Opposite angles of congruent sides are congruent. But just be so therefore you can basically say, even though we don't know what this angle or that angle is, mark it as an X. Mark this one also as an X. So basically it's 40 plus X plus another X is 180. So that might be an additional way to help you. But remember, solve for X, not 2X. All right. So actually, these first problems were from, let's say, Unit 7. So I should have put that earlier. So number 1, Unit 7. Unit 7. Unit 7. Unit 7. Unit 7. And this, okay, here we start with Unit 8. Basically, involving these problems, you use the rule. It's going to be the following. Rule A times B equals C times D. Well, you don't need, so that's going to be the case. And then label your A, B, C, and D. So that's your A. Remember, A and B are on the same line. If A is 9, you have to make B equal to X. And then if 3 is C, then 6 has to be D. And then you just substitute solve. And then same thing. Problem number 10. Same idea. A could be x, B could be the 15, C is 10, D is 24. And number 8, now remember, number 8, your angle is at the center of the circle. So that means angle at center of circle. I'm going to type this one out. That means angle measure equals arc measure. So the angle, degrees of angle, actually we'll make that a little better. Degrees of angle, same as degrees of arc measure. So that's the purpose here. So then what you do is you look at PQ, look where PQ was located, and you have to tell us PQ, which one is it, 3500, 110, 115. And do the same with the others, like it. SQ is here to here. Which one? 3500, 110, 115, so on. All right, so it looks like, okay, well, all right, number 9 is basically the same. Okay, sorry about that. It turned out this was the problem that I wanted rather than what I had originally posted. But everything should be right at this time. So with this problem here, again, it's similar to before. Oops, wrong rule. So given your previous problem, angle at center of circle, degrees of angle, degrees of arc measure will be the same. Now, but be careful here because notice how RQP start at R. Well, you're supposed to end at P, but you have to go through Q before going to P. Similarly, RPQ, again, notice the direction. RPQ, you actually have to go this way around. Now, for both this problem and the previous problem, there was something I wanted to add, and that was the sum of measures is 360 degrees. So I wanted to put that again with this first problem. Now again, I forgot, this is unit 8. Same thing on the next page. Oops. This is unit 8. So don't worry about that problem. That was if you received the paper copy. So anything with the red X you don't need. Now going back to this problem one more time, again, notice the letters, notice the order of the letters, that's the key. And especially for this problem, order of letters is key. That's going to tell you the direction you need to go to get from one letter to the other. Here, unlike the previous problem, This is where if angle is not at the center, then you have a special rule. Not at center. Then you have the following situation. So if you go from angle to arc, so if you're given the angle and you go to the arc, given the angle to go to the arc, remember you have to multiply by 2. Or if you're given an arc, go to angle, it means you are dividing by 2. So I'll put that, given the angle, multiply by 2, you get your arc. Given the arc, divide by 2, you get your angle. And that's going to be the exact same thing going on with the next problem. I'm 11, exact same. So now, in this case, depending on what you're given, are you multiplying by 2? Or do you divide by 2? Well, all depends on what's given to you. So 10 and 11 are basically the same type of problem. All right. 12 and 13. This is also Unit 8. Should go back again. Unit 8. It's also Unit 8. Here, this is Unit 8. Center, radius, both 15 and 16, you're going to use the formula. Now I'm going to put it right in the middle. Is that basically you get your center, center, H, comma K, radius, R, and then you use the equation, which is the following. X minus H square plus Y minus K. That's also squared. And then equals R squared. That's what we have going on in both problems, for both 12 and 13. Now for 12, you're going from the center, you're going from this information. So for 12, this is the direction you're going. Now, remember, radius, you have to square it. So for 12, remember, if that's your radius, you have to square it. And then also opposite signs. So if H is positive, then H would be negative. If it was the other way around, if H was negative for the center, then this guy becomes positive. So again, opposite signs. So that's what's going on here. Opposite sides to go from the center to your equation. Now, 13 on the other hand, you go in the opposite direction. You're given the equation. You have to get the center, which again, opposite signs. So if you have a positive 7, negative 3, your center, check. Check when your signs are switched. And then in your radius, of course, is going to be you take the square root. So get the radius, you have to take the square root of this value here, because they gave you, this is r squared. So 64 is r squared. But you have to take this radius. They give you the radius squared. You got to take that square root to get your new radius. And again, there is no option 4 for problem 13. 14, this is the 1 unit 9 problem. Volume, just give you that formula. Volume equals the length times the width times the height. And then your surface area equals, I'll put it underneath, 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times width times height. And then remember, you can label these dimensions any way you want. You can label them however you want. You'll get the same result. So for number 9, or number 14 rather, you get to tell me volume is one of these 4 numbers. Surface area will be one of those 4 numbers. Then this one, we're going to go back to unit 6. We didn't spend too much time. Again, with SOHCAHTOA, we just talked about it earlier in class. You have to identify your angle. And then look to see, okay, which one is my opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. And then you have to tell us, given what you have, which one of the 3? I'll give you a hint. SOHCAHTOA. Now again, look what's labeled. Oh, sorry about that. Look which 2 have either a variable or a number. That's going to tell you which one you use and which one you don't use. And I'll give you a hint. The A doesn't have anything, so it's going to tell you which one out of the 3 do you use. SOHCAHTOA. Then, the very last problem is also unit 6. Again, look at your angle. So, given that's our hypotenuse, then you have to figure out which one of the 3. That's when we go back to the SOHCAHTOA deal. So, and then TOA. You have to tell me you have to figure out which one to use. Now remember, whichever one you use, if it's sine, cosine, or tangent of 66, that's actually going to be a number. So whichever one you use. So if it's sine 66, you get a number. That's an actual number. Cosine 66, that's an actual number. And tangent 66. So in all 3 cases, they are numbers. numerical values. So that's a numerical value, numerical value, numerical value. And then from there, you have to figure out, okay, which one am I using? But you have to convert. Now remember, so which one of the three has both the O and the H? So that's going to tell you which one you have to use. Whether or not if it's so, ka, or toa. Again, that's going to tell you which one to use. See, but you have to have both. And then from there, you basically, you have a proportion. So you're going to do your diagonal multiplication. That's going to be your last step. And then solve. And then also give you a hint. This side's a hypotenuse. You can start eliminating which values. So you know right away, if this is the hypotenuse and 18 is one of your sides, well, this 11 cannot work. So it's basically going to be down to one of those two. And again, last thing I'm going to mention, numerical values, make sure it's in degree mode, not radian. Calculator. Radian mode. And that's basically it. And as always, email me if you have any questions. I will have office hours Tuesday and Thursday, 3 to 4:15. That's basically going to be the last possible times for office hours before you have to finalize, turn in any work, and prep for your final exam. All right. As always, contact me if you have any questions. Good luck. You'll do well. Thank you. Take care.